Hello, and welcome to Legal Growth Podcast, where we dive into the strategies, challenges, and success stories shaping the future of law firms. I'm your host, Aaron Fulk, and together with Legal Growth Partners, we'll bring you in-depth conversations with top legal professionals, industry innovators, and firm leaders. Our goal is simple: share practical insights, innovative strategies, and real-world advice to help your law firm scale, adapt, and thrive. Whether you're navigating growth challenges or looking to boost your business development, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. I'm so excited. This week, our guest is Chris DeMatteo. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. Chris, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Aaron. I'm pleased to be here too.
Let's just jump right into it. Can you give us a quick overview of how you chose law and the specialty of law you practice?
All right. Well, especially is a bit tough. I do quite a few things. I've done a lot in my career. I've been practicing for about 16 years. I graduated law school in 2010 from Marquette in Milwaukee. Moved back here to Connecticut. I've been practicing ever since. Yeah, I want to say I was born into law. I don't think anybody is. I don't think anybody should be. You're born into things like religions and sports teams. My dad's a lawyer and a Red Sox fan, so I was definitely born to be a Red Sox fan. I was certainly exposed to the law through him. He had a solo practice near where we live, so he did some other things before that, and then after that. So I at least knew what lawyers did. And that's actually really tough because growing up where we did, most kids' parents have tangible jobs, like they drive trucks or operate machines or teach or something. So having a father who's a lawyer took me a little while to figure that one out. But I know on days off, I go to his office. We go to court, not for trials, but for errands and things like that. That's really how I got to at least know the law. I came to appreciate it more when I was in high school. And that's one of those kids who did a lot of the civic activities. I played sports too and tried playing music. I was better at sports than music, but not great at either. And but I did things like mock trial and model Congress, those types of civic activities. I always had interest in government and policy, and law was I saw as a way to be a player in society. But even then, I also always wanted to be a writer. And at one point, I figured, a lot of people do both. John Grisham did both. I'm not like him, but I did a few other things. I took some time off between college and law school, and I wrote for a newspaper. Actually, I was a sports writer for a little while, and then I decided to go to law school. I always wrote and at varying degrees of time and intensity over the years. How I found, I guess, criminal defense is probably what I would consider to be my background in law. It's what I've done the longest. It's what I've probably done close to the most, although I've also done a lot of child protection, juvenile type work, a fair amount of appeals, and a lot of civil litigation. So I'm now with a firm where my primary practices are general civil litigation, including personal injury and employment. I still do criminal defense with all that.
Yeah, nice. That's crazy. You were a sports writer before you went to law school.
Yeah, I for some local writing about high school.
What's your favorite team of any team out there?
I have to say the Red Sox.
The Red Sox.
Even though I would probably say the Red Sox, and then after that, I do like the Celtics, the Patriots. I'll admit I never really had a hockey team. In Connecticut, we had the Whalers. They left, but when I was growing up, the Rangers were really good.
Yeah.
The Bruins were always on the sports channels with the Red Sox and other Boston teams. So I don't really have a hockey team.
Yeah.
I really like BC sports, football and basketball and hockey. BC football and basketball they've required a lot of devotion over.
Right. They really take it the whole time.
Couple years, but BC hockey's always been pretty good.
I love that. Okay. Every attorney seems to have that first memorable first case. Can you share your funniest or most surprising story from early in your career?
I guess funniest or most surprising. One of the first cases I ever had was actually a win. It was really early on. It was a small win, but it was big for the client. It was actually a DUI administrative hearing, and my client was this was the DMV side, not the criminal side. He was challenging his license suspension, and the issue we were litigating was whether he refused the test, the blood alcohol test, the breathalyzer, as you'd say. I guess the first thing was I had to subpoena the video. That was my first time ever signing a subpoena. I remember I signed it, I had it served. The next day I got a call from the police department saying, "Oh, we have your video. You could come pick it up." And I'm thinking, oh, that's this must be what it's like to be a lawyer. Stuff actually happens. When, I then learned that that's not really how it is. A lot of times things don't happen.
Yeah.
But then, and he said, and the desk officer said, you could just send one of your assistants over to pick it up. And at that time, I had nobody. So it turns out I'll be around that day. So I went. And then we actually watched. The video was surprisingly helpful. It showed my client was trying to blow into the machine, and it just wasn't working.
Oh.
And then we went to a hearing, and his license or driving privileges were reinstated.
Nice.
Because it really wasn't a refusal.
Yeah.
So for a short period of time, I was 1-0 in my career. That's in the 15 years since, I've won more and I've lost some.
Would have been great if you just never practiced again. You could have been like, I was undefeated. You wouldn't have made any money, but you could have said you were undefeated. So.
I haven't really made a whole lot of money anyway, but who knows? I would have done something else in my career. Although I probably wouldn't have been going back to journalism to make money. But,
yeah, journalism wouldn't have been any more money. That's what college would do.
Yeah, maybe, but.
Well, speaking of growth, what has been your biggest growth success story so far?
Well, I was in solo practice for almost 10 years. Almost 10. And I guess growing from nothing to something was a pretty good success.
Yeah.
Because even though it was really tough, at times it didn't feel tough. At times it was great. But as time went on, and I was doing more non-legal activities, running an office, that's when it got tough. During the pandemic, that was a pretty lousy period of time. Business slowed down, time seemed to stand still. So that was when I did a lot of, I guess, reflecting on my practice and what I wanted to do, and decided it was time to move on and go back to a firm. Actually, either join a firm or grow my firm. And I decided to join one because I wanted to be a lawyer again instead of being a boss and rights checks. But no, I grew from, again, very humble beginnings in law to having to making a living doing it, and making a living for a while doing it, and leaving it because I wanted to leave solo practice, not because I had to.
Right.
So I do define that as a success, because I still think I probably could have kept doing it. Things weren't actually things got too busy for solo. And that's when I decided I could either hire an associate, but that would probably open up another set of problems.
Right.
Or take what I accumulated over the preceding 10 years and go to a firm that could let me use it.
Listen, I think it's so crazy that so many people expect, like, it happens with dentists, not just lawyers, it happens with dentists, chiropractors, everything. You get really good at a skill, but when you open up your own business, you don't really get to use that skill anymore, right? You got to do the business stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, you see it with trades. There are a lot of great carpenters that you see what they built, and you see their finished work and everything else. But as contractors, that is one of the skills they have. But then all their other responsibilities, especially if they're builders, they're paying, they're buying. It's a lot. It's a lot for anybody running a business. So that's
you're no longer doing what you love.
Yeah, that's why I think it's important to have these resources and companies like yours that can help make that easier for people.
Thank you. You can come on the podcast at any point with the flex like that. I actually watched the Mel Robbins podcast just a couple of days ago, and she was talking about like if you've started a business and like you've done what you want to do in that business, and maybe you want to go work for someone. And the example they used is she had Seth Godin on there, and he said everybody quits stuff all the time. You're not still wearing your pink tutu from when you went to dance, and no one saw that as like you were quitting and changing your life or whatever. He's like, you always just got to be in tune with what works for you right then. And just because it didn't work for you, 10 years, it might work for you now. So I think that's awesome that you went and did that. Okay. So let's get into this, which I think is a really fun conversation to have. What's your number one non-legal skill that has really helped you navigate all this and become a great lawyer?
Actually, I would probably say it goes back to, again, basic. I don't say basic skills. There's nothing basic about writing and communication. Basic in that it's an essential skill, but it's hard to sharpen. So again, I worked as a sports writer. I also do other reporting, and I continue to write opinion columns on politics and law when I have time. But journalism is a really good background, a really good skill set. Yeah. For two reasons. One of them is interviewing, knowing how to ask questions, but also getting people to talk. Mm-hmm. Because if you want answers from people, you can't interrogate them. Again, you need to show interest, get them, show that you're listening. And honestly, often people will volunteer interest. And granted, police interrogate people all the time, and often clients will volunteer things when they shouldn't. But it's a little different when they ask questions. But knowing just how to get people to respond. And that also requires knowing about them, doing research and homework before you ask the questions. That's a good skill, not just in informal or preliminary meetings with prospective clients or witnesses, but also in a trial or a deposition, any kind of examination. It's, again, to get them talking and also making sure you listen to what they say.
Right.
Then from that, writing is really important, but it's important to write in a way that a normal person can read and appreciate.
Yes.
I've often judged mock trials, and I always tell a lot of high school students, especially, they'll try to use a lot of legal terminology, and this, which is great because it shows that they're learning and they're trying to. But if you're in a trial, especially if you have a jury, you want to speak like a normal person. Jurors are normal people. Lawyers and judges used to be. So, make it a point to communicate, just effective communication. And learning how to do that as, again, writing for a newspaper, especially because you're writing to a broad audience. So you're writing sports articles, not just for people who are really interested in sports, but actually for parents, for people in the community. Again, if you're writing news, your average reader or your target reader isn't necessarily a person with a lot of experience or degrees. Mm-hmm. It's someone that just wants to know what's going on. So telling people how it is, what's happening, being able to distill complicated material, especially law, in a way that people can understand is really hard, but it's also incredibly important.
No, it sounds like an insane skill to have.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been, not because I'm lazy, but I've always been a firm believer in brevity is the soul of wit. So be succinct, be clear.
I love that. In marketing, we call it the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. And I always say I'm good at marketing because I'm right here. Like I just understand the basic part of it. So it works out good. All right. Last question. Looking ahead, what trends or changes do you see shaping the future of law? And how are you positioning yourself to stay competitive?
I mean, you're probably waiting for me to say AI.
I mean, most people do, but
yeah,
I like getting an answer that's not as well better.
Yeah, no, I'm not. And here's the thing: I don't think there is any one answer. So law, in a lot of ways, is reactive, and it's also shaped by it's shaped by society and culture. So whatever those trends are, even if law lags behind a bit, you have to be responsive to how, if you're in litigation, how your clients, but also opposing litigants are acting, or what they know and what they do. So that certainly goes along with technology. You can't separate those two things. From a client service perspective, it's if you want clients, you have to be able to communicate with them, be able to be found by them. Mm-hmm. So if it's marketing, it's in the old days, lawyers would have a sign on the door in their office on Main Street or above the bank or across from the street from the courthouse. And that probably worked for a long time for a lot of people. Obviously, there were laws or ethical rules about attorney advertising that changed in the 70s. But for a long time, you didn't have to do much, or you had yellow pages ads. But as people became more technological, attorneys created websites, and then but at the same time, there's certain trends that don't translate to law. Social media, I think, largely hasn't. There might be some firms or marketers that say that social media really helps. I think it might help you get out, promote links and things that you already have, but you're probably not growing a law practice because what you post on Instagram, frankly. Like whatever, Meta was never actually a thing beyond some weirdos in Silicon Valley. So that was a trend that was probably not worth any firm to follow. But I guess with growing with technology, something that firms should, or lawyers especially, I'll speak to individual lawyers, the fact that lawyers are, as I just said, lawyers used to be regular people. Lawyers still are people, and clients, granted, you could represent entities, corporations or insurance companies, whatnot. But clients are still people too. So even though there's all sorts of, whether it's AI or who knows what it will be, I think there is still a desire for personal service, for human interaction, for someone who can send you a quick email and asking a legal question and get an answer back, or actually be able to meet with you before court, or whether it's in the office or on the steps or at the courthouse. There's still a need for that. So again, you can certainly embrace technology, and we should, because if you're somebody that doesn't have a computer nowadays, you're probably going to be a lot tougher to practice law. Although again, if you're such an old school person, you can dictate everything and have somebody else type it for you, I guess. But yeah, I can't really say any. Again, AI is a big trend everywhere, but in a lot of ways, it's an extension of what we've already been experiencing through Google, through other types of searches and softwares and references. So again, obviously, you have to be on the lookout for it. You have to be in touch with it. But again, in terms of shaping the future of law firms, I've only worked for a few firms, and
right.
a lot of things are the same. In that, yes, we have we still have phones that ring all the time because people are trying to call us. We still have websites, and people try to email or contact us through websites. We still go to court. We still file things. A lot of those things weren't a whole lot different than when I go to my dad's office, over 30 years ago. The internet was not there.
Right.
I remember when he had his preview of Westlaw, and somebody came in with a CD-ROM. And all those books, they're on this disc.
That was a big deal. I remember it too.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, really. I remember when fax machines were still, like, we still have fax machines. Like, it's not
Right.
a lot of courts, at least here, still do fax filing.
Really?
On the criminal side, they do.
That's crazy.
Civil is electronic. So yeah, so although things change, a lot of things do stay the same.
Yeah.
And the personal service hiring, so being a name and face instead of just a name or a bland corporation or firm, I think it means a lot.
Yeah.
And maybe with all of the chat GPT and all those other things, being a real person with real authority who can actually tell you what the law is and how it really applies to your case and not a bunch of hallucinated things, that will probably set you apart from whatever competition you have.
Cool. Well, I agree that as much as stuff changes, it stays the same. I think that's a great point. And I don't believe that AI is going to take over. I think we're in a little lull where everyone's trying it. From my seat, I'm seeing people are starting to spend so much money. They're like, this doesn't even make sense to do this, and it's never correct. So I think you're right. Now, I do think that I've got to show you some attorneys that are killing it on social media and getting paid.
No, I mean, a lot of them do. I'm not saying they don't, but in terms of actually translating the business, I mean, having lots of followers, but a lot of them are.
I think it depends what kind of law you're in.
I think so too. It also depends on what medium you're using.
Yeah.
Instagram's a visual medium. So if you have a lot of visuals, maybe if you do real estate, Instagram might be really good. You could show houses and things. Or if you have a hobby.
Good for that, for like if you are DUI, right? Because you're just sitting there on your phone a lot. And so there's different, we can have this conversation offline, but I just wanted to push back at that one because I have to change cases. Well, this is amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for joining us on the Legal Growth Podcast presented by Legal Growth Partners. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, drop us a review, share it with your colleagues because great insights are even better when shared. For more tips and tools to help grow your practice, visit legalgrowthpartners.com. Until next time, keep innovating, keep growing, keep smiling, and go follow Chris. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks.